Hello folks, welcome to the Edupedia world and I am Abhinay Gupta. Today again we'll continue with the topic, the meetings of the board and its powers. So in our previous lectures we have already covered certain topics and discussed the various provisions of section 173, 174, 175 and section 176. So in section 173 we have discussed the various provisions of the board meeting, the minimum requirement of the number of board meetings, the intervening period, the notice of the board meeting and stuff. In section 174, we discussed in detail the provisions related to the quorum of the board meeting, right? And then in section 175, we discussed the concept of the resolution by circulation. That is when you don't want to hold a board meeting, or when you consider the board meeting to be expensive, or consider a situation where you have just one ordinary matter to be discussed, then you could also follow the method of resolution by circulation, right? We have discussed the various provisions already. Then in section 176, we discussed about the defect in appointment, right? That if the appointment of director is defective, then before the defect is actually noticed, all the acts done by the director would be valid, right? Those actions would be valid and would be creating a liability on the director, right? And the company, because the director is the director of a company for that time. But after the defect is noticed, that means a defect or disqualification or termination, if some of those conditions are attracted to the director, then any action that is done, that is performed by the director after the defect is being noticed, would be considered to be invalid, right? So we have seen those provisions also. Now before moving on to the next section, that is section 177, the audit committee, we would like to discuss some of the basics of the chapter again, right? So when we are talking about the board meeting, yeah, we have discussed about the directors, we have discussed about the independent directors, we have discussed about the quorum, notice and stuff. But the only thing we did not discuss so far is the chairman, right? The provisions that are related to the chairman of the board meeting, and also the minute. What is a minute? How is it supposed to be sent? What are the formats of the minutes, right? So these are the basic things that, although do not come in the flow of the sections, as we discussed, we will be covering section 173 to section 195. Right? But although they're not in the flow, we'll be covering section 118 that relates to the meetings of the, that relates to the minutes of the meeting, and also the provisions that relate to the chairperson of the board, right? So let us start with the next topic, that is the chairperson of the board meeting. So when we talk about the chairperson of the meeting, the immediate fact or the immediate thought that comes to our mind is that he is a person who is responsible for presiding over the meeting, right? He is the actual spokesperson. We know that every board meeting should be presided over by a chairperson, right? And so we'll be discussing the provisions that relate to the appointment of chairperson and other powers given to the chairperson, right? So we understand that, yeah, the initial and the basic function of the chairperson, the basic responsibility of the chairperson is to preside over a meeting, right? He is the person who would actually look into the conduct of the deliberations of the meeting, and he would ensure that the meeting is duly convened, it is properly conducted, and the matters that had to be discussed in the meeting or the agenda of the meeting is properly carried forward, right? The matter is properly discussed, the vote has been very properly provided, and then the resolution has been passed as per the provisions, right? So these things are the responsibility of the chairperson, right? But when we talk about a chairperson, right, he is a person who is appointed by the board, but he is not a permanent chairperson, right? So any chairperson who is appointed is always appointed on a temporary basis. So even if a whole-time director is appointed as the chairperson of the meeting, even that whole-time director would also be a part-time chairperson, right? And he would occupy the chair of the chairperson only when the meeting is in continuation. So when we talk about the appointment of the chairperson, there is no specific section or there is nothing specifically provided in the Act as to the procedure for appointment of a chairperson. There is no statutory provision available for the same, right? But yeah, we have the model of the table F, that is regulation 70 of the table F, right, which deals with the appointment of the chairperson. So as per the regulation 70 of the table F, the board of the directors, they may elect a chairperson, right, in their board meeting itself. and they would also determine the period for which he would be holding the chair. I mean, he would be holding the office of the chairperson. But if in any situation there is no chairperson elected, or for example, if you have a meeting to be conducted and the chairperson did not appear, did not show up for the first 5 minutes, right? I mean, once the time for starting the meeting has passed, the board would wait for 5 minutes for the chairperson to appear or to show up. But if it doesn't show up, even during the duration of that 5 minutes, after the lapse of that 5 minutes, then the board of directors who are present in the board meeting may choose any person among themselves to chair the meeting, right? To chair that particular board meeting. So this was the model provided by table F, the regulation 70. But otherwise also the chairperson is always appointed in accordance with the provisions of the article, because there is no statutory provision provided for the same, right? So the company is free to incorporate in its article such other provisions in the modified form also. So they are not exactly supposed, or they are not exactly required or mandate. There is no mandate that they would have to follow the regulation 70 of table F, right? As we know, whenever we talk about regulations from the table F, they are just model regulations, right? So either you can incorporate those model regulations as it is, or you may amend or modify them as per your requirement and then incorporate it into your articles of association, right? So over here also you could either incorporate the entire regulation 70 of table F, or you could also modify the regulation and incorporate it in the modified form in your article. So we have understood the responsibilities of the chairperson and also his position, right? We have seen his appointment. How is the chairperson appointed, right? As per regulation 70. Now we need to know who can be appointed as a chairperson. So as we know, this is the board meeting and only the directors attend the board meeting, right? So even the chairperson will have to be a director of the same company, right? So only one director can ever be appointed as a chairperson of the board meeting, right? So that means we cannot appoint any proxy as a chairperson. We already know that even the board of directors cannot appoint a proxy to attend or vote for the board meeting, right? The shareholders, they can appoint a proxy for the general meeting, but the directors cannot appoint a proxy for attending their board meeting. So even the chairperson cannot be a proxy at any point of time. And when we talk about chairperson, we know he's an important person for the board meeting, but since he is a part-time chairperson, so there is no such requirement that a whole-time director will be a chairperson. The only requirement is that the chairperson should be a director. There is no mandate that you will have to appoint a whole-time director as a chairperson. So you could also appoint a non-executive director as the chairperson to chair the board meeting. And the director is not necessarily supposed to hold the shares of the company. So even a director who is not a shareholder, that means a non-shareholder director, may also be appointed as the chairperson of the board meeting. So in short, if you understand, then there is no additional requirement. The only requirement that is needed for you to become a chairperson, the only qualification you need is that you should be a director of that company. You hold the share, you don't hold the share, doesn't matter. You are a whole-time director, executive director, non-executive director, whosoever you are. If you are a director of the company, you are eligible to be the chairperson of the board meeting. Now, we have understood that, the actual requirement, why do we need a chairperson? First is because he is the person who will preside over the meeting, right? And he would also see to the conduct of the meeting and ensure that the meeting is duly convened and the matters are properly discussed and properly voted and the resolution is passed, right? And they follow the provisions of the act, the memorandum and the article, right? But apart from that, the chairperson is also given a casting vote, right? So the casting vote in a layman's term, in a general term, if you try and understand, it is just a second vote. That means the chairperson would have 2 votes, right? The second vote is actually the deciding vote. So he may not always use the second vote. The second vote is basically used in the situation of a tie, when there's a deadlock in the board, right? When suppose you have 4 directors for the motion, 4 directors against the motion, there's a tie. How do you pass a resolution? And we already know that if there is a tie in the board meeting, the resolution is always deemed to have been lost. So in that situation, if the chairperson wants the resolution to be passed, he would apply his casting vote, right? But you should pay detailed attention to what I say, if he wants. That means it is not a mandate for the chairperson to cast his casting vote, right? So he could also, at any point of time, if he does not want to cast his vote, he would refrain from it, right? And in that situation, when there is a deadlock in the board, the matter would be taken forward to the shareholders, right? And if we talk about the provisions that are related to the casting vote, then we understand that a casting vote basically would be allowed to a chairperson only if it is provided in the article of association of the company, right? And as we have seen the regulation 68 of table F, that is another model whereby we saw that a resolution is passed by the majority votes, right? And if there is a tie, if there are equal number of votes for and against the motion or for or against the resolution, then the chairperson would be allowed to use the casting vote, right? And we already know that he is not under a mandate to use his casting vote. He may decide not to use it as well. Now again, there are two terms. One is the chairperson of the board and the other is the chairperson of the board meeting. So we need to understand the difference between the two terms. When we talk about the chairperson of the board, we reflect or we refer to the person who has been elected by the board to be the chairperson for the specified duration of time, right? But on the other hand, if the chairperson is, for example, not attending the meeting, or if he did not show up for the first 5 minutes, then we have seen that the board decide one among themselves to hold the meeting, to chair the board meeting. So that chairperson who has been appointed temporarily to chair a particular board meeting would be called a chairperson for the board meeting, right? And why did we actually see the difference between the two terminologies? Was to bring to your notice that your article, or actually the regulation 68 of table F, gives the power to the chairman of the board to exercise the casting vote. Hence, the chairman of the board meeting would not be allowed to cast the casting vote, right? So that is the basic necessity that you need to actually understand, because you may get a question sometimes in your examination and there you would be given this trick where the question says that he is the chairperson of the board meeting and then there's a deadlock and then he uses his casting vote. Will the resolution be passed? The answer is no, because he would not be allowed to use his casting vote, because he is not the chairperson of the board, he is the chairperson of the board meeting, right? So that is something you need to understand, right? So I hope the provisions related to the chairperson of the board meetings are clear with you. We have just 3-4 things in this to discuss. One is the casting vote and the other is the regulation 70 of the table F, right? And we know that only a director can be a chairperson, right? So we move on to the next topic, that is the minutes of the meeting, which is covered under section 118 of Companies Act 2013. So basically we need to understand first what are the minutes. When we talk about the minutes of the meeting, what are these minutes, right? So minutes are nothing. They are also known as the protocols or the notes, right? And they are the instant written records of the meeting or the hearing, right? So the minutes, they typically describe the events of the meeting, right? And they may also include, or they do include, the list of all the attendees, the people, the directors who have attended the meeting, and we specifically specify that, yeah, he was the chairman and these were the directors who have attended the meeting. And then you also specify there is a statement of the issues that were discussed in that meeting, right? And what was the conclusion that the participants have derived from that meeting, right? Who voted for it, or it's not exactly who voted for it, but what was the conclusion that you have derived out of it, and what is the solution. So these things are actually plotted down in a document, and that document is called the meeting. So when you are holding a board, it's called the minute. When you're holding the board meeting, the entire event of the meeting is recorded in a document. The date of the meeting, the time of the meeting, the place of the meeting, actually the name of the meeting. What kind of meeting is it? Is it a board meeting, or has it been called for a specific purpose? then the chairperson of that meeting, the number of directors who have attended it, the name of all the directors, and then also the schedule of what resolutions have been passed, what topics have been discussed, and what have been the conclusion for them. All these things are recorded as per their date and time, right, in a document, and then that is placed in a book which is known as a minute book. So why we name the meeting also, that whether it's a board meeting or creditors meeting, directors meeting, these things are also recorded over there, because the minutes are actually prepared for various kinds of meeting. That is, they would record the proceedings of every general meeting. The minutes would record the proceeding of every meeting of the directors, or meetings of any specific class of shareholders, the meeting of any class of creditors, the meeting of the committee or the board, committee of the board, the board committee, and also the resolutions that are passed by the postal ballot. So all these meetings are recorded, right? So when we talk about the meetings for which the minutes are required, these are the list for that. And when we talk about the preparation of minutes, so they are prepared and signed in the manner as that would be prescribed, right? And they would record all the appointments, and it would be maintained in a book, that is the minute book, right? And the pages of that minute book would be consecutively numbered. And this minute book, that would be prepared and signed within 30 days in the prescribed manner. And that would be within 30 days from the conclusion of the meeting or passing of the resolution by the postal ballot, or whatever is the case, right? And as the content, we would include in that the name of all the directors, the list of all the directors, right? And what are the resolutions passed, the name of directors that are also dissenting from the resolution, right? But there are certain matters that are also not included in the meeting, and that would be at the discretion of the chairman, the person who is actually the head of the company. Over here, we are not talking about the chairperson of the board meeting, we are talking about the chairman, right? So you need to understand the difference between the two. So the chairman would actually not include a matter in a meeting if that matter is defamatory, right? If it is irrelevant or immaterial, or if it is detrimental to the interest of the company, right? Or if it is carrying something that brings ill fame. So these kind of substances, these kinds of facts would not be recorded in the meeting, in the minutes, and that would be the discretion of the chairman of the company. And he would actually exercise an absolute discretion in this matter, right? He does not need to consult anybody for the same. It's his discretion. If he wants a matter to be included, it would be included. If he does not want the matter to be included, it has to be excluded from the minutes. So the minutes at the end that are prepared are supposed to be correct, they are supposed to be fair, right? Because they hold an evidential value. They are an evidence that yes, the meeting was conducted. These are the resolutions that had been passed on this date. These were the directors over there. So it always provides as an evidence. So when you talk about section 173, where you have to actually show that you have conducted 4 board meetings in the year. So minutes would actually be an evidence that yeah, on this date you had these board meetings conducted, and these were the directors who attended it, and these were the resolutions that are passed, right? So as an evidence, it is useful, and also you always have a general perception, right? You presume that yes, the meeting was duly called and held, the proceedings were duly conducted, they were taking place in a due manner, the resolutions were passed in the postal ballot in a duly proceedings, and all the various appointments of the directors, the key managerial person, auditor, secretary, whosoever it is, they were very validly made, right? So these are the basic presumptions, unless something in contrary is proved. That is what you assume when you read the minutes of the meeting. So this is the section 118, that actually defines the procedure of how you maintain a minute of the meeting, right? Whatever meeting it is. So if there is a contravention to this section, there will always follow a penalty, and the penalty for the company would be rupees 25,000, and the penalty for each officers would be rupees 5,000. But this is a nominal penalty that has been attracted to the company or the officer in the event of contravention of this section. But if there is a tampering with the meeting, if somebody after the meeting is prepared, if somebody tries to tamper the meeting, then there could be an imprisonment of 2 years, right? As well as a penalty for rupees 25,000 that may extend up to rupees 1 lakh. right? Because if you actually do not abide by the section, if there is a contravention of the section, that may be an error, right? That may be a situation where you could say that yeah, they did not actually provide by the provisions, they were not efficient enough, right? So there is a nominal penalty for that. But if you're tampering it, it is an incidence of fraud, right? You're trying to actually camouflage something or change the facts, right? So that is actually a crime, and hence you are awarded an imprisonment of 2 years for that, right? And now these were the provisions of section 118. We would also look into the rules, right, that govern the maintenance of the meeting. So the provisions for maintenance of meetings are contained in Rule 25 of the Company's Meetings of the Board and its Power, Rule 2014, right? So the rule basically lays down various provisions, and it says that there should be a distinct minute book for each type of meeting. We know that yeah, for all the meetings we'll have all type of meeting will have a different book, but those books should be distinct, right? You know that for all the board meetings you will have one book, 1 minute book, where you'll record all the board meetings for the year, right? And year after year. And for the creditors you have a separate book, for the shareholders you will have a separate book, and for the board committee you will again have a separate book. For postal ballot you may not have a separate book, because the minutes of the postal ballot are actually included in the minutes of the general meeting, right? And then as per the rules, if we talk about the maintenance of the meeting, the manner of maintenance of the minutes, right, then we know that the minutes are entered in the book after the meeting is being conducted, and that would be done within 30 days, and they are signed, right? And they are signed, and they are marked along with the dates when the meeting was conducted. And in case of the resolution that is passed by postal ballot, those would be entered into the minutes of the general meeting, right? And in the case of the postal ballot, the minutes would basically contain the brief report of the postal ballot conducted, then the resolution that was proposed to be actually taken forward by the postal ballot, then the result of the voting that they attained, the summary of the scrutinizer's report, and the date of the entry in the minute book. And when we talk about the signing of the minute, the signatures on the minute, then when you sign a minute, you sign each page, right? You could also give a full signature on each page, or even an initial of your name would be allowed on each page. But on the last page, you will have to sign in full and also specify the date of that signature, right? Now we know that yeah, it is supposed to be signed, but who signs the minute? So there are different persons actually. So when we talk about the minute of the board meeting, yeah, and or the committee, the board committee, then those are signed by the chairperson of the same meeting, right? Or if the chairperson of the same meeting is not signing it, or is not available, or there is some issue, then the chairperson of the next meeting would sign that minute. And in case of the minute of the general meeting, then the chairman of the same meeting would sign it within 30 days of the conclusion of the meeting, right? Or in the event when the chairman is not able to sign that minute due to its death or inability, or whatever is the reason, right, within the period of 30 days, then it would be duly signed by the director who is authorized by the board for this purpose. So if the chairman is not able to sign, the board will authorize some other director to sign, and that authorized director would be the only director who would be signing the minute of the general meeting, right? And if there is a resolution that is passed by the postal ballot, then it would be signed by the chairman of the board. In case of general meeting, it was signed by the chairman of that general meeting, but over here it would be signed by the chairman of the board. And if there is no chairman of the board, or in the event of his death or inability to sign the minute, in that case it would be again duly signed by an authorized director, a director authorized for this specific purpose. Now once the minute books are prepared, they are signed, they are kept with the company secretary at the registered office, right? And they are preserved permanently. That means the minute books are never supposed to be disposed, right? So that is basically the entire provision of the rules, to the rules 25 of the company's minutes of the board and its power, rule 2014. So with this, I hope you have a clear understanding of what a minute is and how was it prepared, right? and the various provisions related to it, who would sign it, how would it be signed, within what period will it be signed, what are the contents of the minutes, right? And that the different kinds of meeting would have a distinct minute book also, right? So I hope the provisions of the chairperson and the provisions of section 118, that is the minutes of the meeting, in addition to it the rules, rule 25 of the company's meeting of the board and its power rules, are now clear with you, right? So if there are one or two questions that we'll be discussing, but we'll be discussing them in the next chapter, in the next lecture, so that we have a brief revision and then we discuss the questions, right? Then when we actually talk about a topic twice, it seeps into your mind, right? So we make an attempt towards that. So stay tuned for the next lecture. Until then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you. Bye-bye.